though you write the SimCavalier series of sci-fi books.
I do.
They're out there. So tell us a bit more about how you came to go from being very, I mean, when you first turned up to talk to us, you were very much a, I have published books in non-fiction.
Technical stuff, yeah.
Very, very big, serious, technical, cutting edge, right up to the minute stuff. But then you had a novel. So where did that come from? Do you want to talk a little bit about all of that?
Sure. So the novel came from pretty much the same base as all of my other writing, in that I was actually asked to write a book about cybersecurity, and it was supposed to be a non-fiction book, because I'd already written stuff about digital business and so on. I had traditional publishing contracts for that kind of thing, and the person who asked me to write about cybersecurity, we spent some time, and I kept asking, you know, what's the structure of the book? What are we putting in it? And eventually he said, you could do it as fiction. It would work really well as fiction. And I said, don't be silly, I can't write fiction. And he spent 8 months nagging me and going, go on, you can, of course you can, go on. And then one morning I woke up, and it was the day that the WannaCry cyber attack, the ransomware, hit the NHS and banks and manufacturing all over the world. And there was somebody complaining on the radio that they hadn't been able to get their money out of the cash point and so on. And I thought, oh, that would make a good story. And I wrote 300 words and I sent it to my friend, and he said, keep writing. And so then I Googled, how do I write a novel? And found out about setting up a character. So I started describing my main character. And by the time I decided what that main character looked like and what their family life was and their favourite food, and suddenly I had this person in my head, and this person started doing things. And that was the start of the book. And 65,000 words later, I contacted Sixth Element after a recommendation and went, I've got this book, because my traditional publishers didn't touch that genre. And yeah, and now I've written 2 more, and I've written short stories, and I'm starting on the next one.
And you're one of our Harvey regulars as well. So
yeah.
That's a combination of both the characters from your SimCavalier universe,
yes.
which is near future, isn't it? We should say it's near future. It's very
near future. So writing about cybersecurity as fiction is all very well, but I wanted to make it a little bit fun, and to be in a position where I didn't feel I had to defend all the tech all of the time and be really 100% sure that everything was accurate. So by putting it 20, 30 years in the future, I was able to have drones flying around and more mature artificial intelligence, and maybe, you know, have some different political landscapes and different sets of baddies and so on. And by doing that, also there's a point at which you can extrapolate tech and say, you know, actually it's not I don't have to be bang on accurate, because I don't want people picking me up and going, well, you wouldn't actually do it like that in real life. So yeah, so the SimCavalier stuff's near future, and the stories in Harvey Duckman that are around those characters are prequels. So it's very much, you know, how main character meets the other character each time, and just fleshes out some of the ideas. And then the other one actually came, the other character that I play with actually came from one of my serious books. So I was writing about blockchain and cryptocurrency, and I wanted to give a feeling of a real universal currency. And I thought, what do space travelers do when they get to a new spaceport and they want to buy a cocktail? What do they use to buy the cocktail? Do they have to go and find an exchange thing bureau first, and so on? And so I wrote a little paragraph in my non-fiction book about a little alien arriving on a new planet. And after that was published, I just had this nagging feeling of, what happened to the little alien? Did they get their cocktail? Did something go horribly wrong for them? Were they saved at the last minute? Did they manage to get out of the scrape they were in?
We do.
And so that's a whole new little series of fun stuff that's just complete space fantasy. And I really enjoy it.
Brilliant. So talking about your the combination of writing, not just you have a cybersecurity thing in your writing as a whole. So how do you switch your mindset from writing? Because you've also this year published an amazing the What's Hot book.
What's hot in blockchain and crypto book. Yeah, that was a lot of fun to do. I'm actually working on the second one now. So how do the two work? So it's a real, it's not as big a shift as you think in terms of mindset, because any good nonfiction book tells a story that you engage with. So being able to present a fireside chat or a particularly complicated bit of tech as a story that someone can engage with, and that has flow and is straightforward to understand, is really it's a skill I really like to have, and the fiction writing helps me to communicate things better. But the big thing is trying not to use those flights of subconscious fantasy that come when you're writing fiction. So you can get buried in writing a short story or a chapter, and things happen that you weren't expecting, and you go off on all sorts of different tangents. But when you're writing about the real world, and about real people, you have to absolutely reflect their story, not yours. And so that's the biggest challenge, is being really true to someone else's story. Whereas with fiction, you can just fly.
But I know some of the feedback you got from the What's Hot book was that it was almost a book that you could sit by the fire and enjoy and be entertained as much as informed.
Yeah, my favourite review was, it's like a fireside chat with the people building some of the coolest tech on the planet.
Yeah. Right up to the minute. And that's a series, isn't it? So we're going to, so you're writing the next SimCavalier book.
Yes.
You're also writing more Harvey stories.
Yes.
You've got more in the series of What's Hot books as well.
Yes, and I've been writing technical readings for a professional bodies syllabus, so that their members start to understand about emerging technologies and how it impacts their profession. So that's another dimension again, because it's telling a story and relating it to people's experiences.
So the next thing, it kind of combines both the last year and the COVID situation with kind of what you do anyway. So where, like us, you're based here in Teesside, but you work on a worldwide platform completely. Everything you do is worldwide, whether that's fiction or your non-fiction. So looking just as a sort of a being here in Teesside and being able to do that sort of creatively and professionally.
Yes, it's been a really interesting and quite scary journey, because I've always been as international as I could be. I was using Zoom a long time before anybody else was, a long time before COVID, and I've travelled a lot. So I've been over in the States speaking at conferences and in Europe and so on, and I was more speaking and consulting than I was writing. And when COVID hit and suddenly all of the events that I was due to be at were cancelled or postponed, I mean, they didn't even go online, most of them. It was too soon. Suddenly I was looking for other opportunities, and I ended up doing a huge amount of writing. I didn't realize till the end of the year that I'd actually been published under 6 different titles. So I'd had a blockchain, two blockchain books, SimCavalier book, and 2 Harvey Dupmans. Just crazy. And there was another little blockchain book as well that I contributed a chapter to. So I was doing a huge amount of stuff, and I didn't realize. But what I have got is a real international audience, and because everyone's online, it's democratized it. So I'm sitting in networking groups in London, or I'm chairing part of a conference in Houston, or I'm delivering a keynote in Australia, and it's just extraordinary. It really is. From here, from sitting in Teesside, I'm literally talking to the world, and that's been really, really fab.
So in a way, this COVID situation, it's almost it's brought everyone else into your playground.
Yes, it's brought everyone. It's brought everyone here. And funnily enough, thinking about bringing people here, I think I finished the 3rd SimCavalier book during lockdown. So I finished it in July. And I brought the characters to Teesside, and before I'd had them in London because it was like, well, everyone knows London, they're not, but this time I brought the characters to the northeast coast because the world is coming to the world. It can be wherever you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Where do you see this going? This I mean, it has been amazing for people to be able to connect online.
Yeah.
How do you see it going, whatever happens with the COVID lockdown situation?
Gosh, I think that we will, it's going to be a joy to see people in the flesh again. Having done a bit of teaching, because I also teach at the University of Teesside, hybrid things where you're trying to concentrate on a live audience and an online audience are really weird and hard to work. So I think anyone trying to make an effort to do the hybrid side, it's going to be tough. But I think we're going to go back to our local face-to-face stuff. But I think the international links are going to be far more online. And I'm really looking forward to that continuing. I think we've got 2 or 3 years of caution and reset anyway around travel. So the more things are online, and people are so much more fluent with it now. And the assumption is we're going to be online, and I absolutely love that.
Brilliant. So immediately, what's your future?
I've just started the 4th SimCavalier novel, which is, I mean, literally I've written 200 words. And I'm doing a lot of work on, just sprucing up the original series and getting it to a wider audience, which is really starting to work. And I want to write more short stories. Actually, I really enjoy the immediacy of pulling together a story in 3,000 words. It's great.
Yeah, we talked about this already with a few people, where I give you a week. It's like, I need a story in a week. Harvey coming out soon.
I think I wrote one of my finishes in 2 days flat.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much for joining us. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, not at all. Just actually, yes. It's when I was looking for a publisher for my fiction, I went to my traditional publisher in Bedfordshire. I went to my publisher in the US. I looked around, and it just so happened that I spoke to someone at a networking meeting and went, "Don't you realise there's a publisher in Billingham?" And finding out that something could be so local was a joy. And I think the more that we look around our own communities, we realise exactly how many resources we've got here. And it's been brilliant.
I can remember our very first conversation where we put on the table the fact that you could own your own work, publish it professionally, but own it yourself was.
No, that's an enormous plus. Yeah, because I'm used to dealing with traditional publishers where you put all that sweat and tears into writing something, and then you get no rights and 10%, and that isn't a lot. That really isn't a lot, because you don't have control over the marketing, you don't have control over anything. They have, I mean, I have people who are trying to buy the paperback direct from the publishers, but they're shipping from the US, and it takes a long time. And it's absolutely crazy. And being able to have so much control and yet also be really confident that the book is well developed and copy, well developed and edited and professional, it really suits me.
Brilliant. It's brilliant working with you, and good luck with everything that you're working on.
Oh.
And thank you for joining us. Thank you for
this. It's a pleasure.
We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Speak to you later.
Very much. Take care. Bye for now.